It's a practice, not a perfect. That is going to be the topic of this episode of Chi Life. So it's a nice little phrase that a friend of mine, his name is Scott Townsend, is fond of using. He's a breathwork coach. That's primarily what he focuses on. I'll put a link in the description if you'd like to, I don't know, see what he does. He does good work. And he uses this phrase as a way to encourage people in their practice. He tells them to remember it's a practice, not a perfect. Now, to be fair, I don't know if this is an original quote from Scott. I don't know if he might have got it from somewhere else. But I've heard him say it several times, so I'm gonna attribute it to him at this point anyway. If you do get in touch with him, maybe you can ask him. He might have got it from somewhere else as well. But anyway, I think it's a nice little saying. It's a nice little thing that's easy to remember, and it's a good way for us to actually think about our practice, whether that be a breathwork practice of some sort, or whether that be qigong, or many other types of practices as well. Because sometimes people, and this includes myself from time to time, hopefully not so much anymore because I've been working with practices for a long time, and so I've worked on my mindset around these things quite a bit, but particularly when people haven't done a lot of some of these different practices, sometimes people get into this way of thinking where they wait for the perfect time, the perfect environment, until they feel just right, before they think they can do their practice. Because they're like, otherwise, there's all these reasons why not to do it. Or in terms of how they're doing the practice, they're worried that, I might not be doing it quite right or something like this. And so all this stands in the way of actually just getting on and doing the practice. And remembering this little phrase, it's a practice, not a perfect, I think helps us to change that mindset. It's right there in the language that we often use about this. We talk about doing practices, which means that we're in the process of doing, of refining, of hopefully improving, hopefully getting benefit from doing these things that we do. We could also just call them exercises, and sometimes we refer to them as exercises, but so often we call it a practice because it's like, there's an understanding that it's not going to be perfect. By definition, things aren't going to be perfect in life. Other than if you take a broader view and you think of things as perfectly imperfect. When we recognize that the imperfections are actually just part of what it means to be alive, and that in itself can be its own type of perfection. But yeah, if we let all of these sort of sometimes fears, sometimes just pickiness, things like that stand in the way of getting on with our practice, we then miss out on so much of the benefits. We can wait and wait and wait and wait, and then by the time we've waited so much, we could have got so much benefit, so much progress, so much improvement during that time. If we just continue with our practice, recognizing that things aren't always going to be exactly how we want them. And often, in fact, we get a lot of benefit from practicing in imperfect conditions. We actually learn things from that process. We learn what it's like to... Now this is within reason, of course. But we learn what it's like to practice when it's a bit cold, for example. Now that doesn't mean you should just go and practice and it's way too cold, and maybe get yourself sick or something like that. But okay, well, what do I need to do when it's cold? How does my body respond? Maybe I wear some more clothes, and maybe there's some things to activate my energy a little bit more, and that way we actually get benefit from it. That's just one example. If it's cold, maybe if it's noisy, there are distractions. Again, if you find it too difficult to practice when there are distractions, maybe you work to find and create situations for yourself where you can practice where there aren't too many distractions. But at the same time, if you wait until there are no distractions, you might be waiting a long time. And sometimes it's good to just try practicing anyway and go hey, actually it's okay if I get distracted once in a while. And by practicing in these imperfect conditions, actually learn to get better at either better at accepting the distractions as part of the process, part of life, or getting better at being able to maintain focus even when there are distractions. And again, you're probably not going to be perfect at it straight away, but little by little, as you keep practicing, you'll get better and better and better, and you'll be able to handle more distractions and so on. Another thing that this often applies to is how well someone feels they either know or their physical ability to do a particular practice. And they might feel, oh, I don't know it well enough, or I'm just not good enough at it. I'm not, flexible enough, whatever it might be. One of the things that I often say, so a different saying, not quite as catchy, is, particularly as people are learning the practices, Qigong practices, because some Qigong practices are really simple, great, easy to learn, easy to do. Others of them are quite sophisticated. There's quite a few little details involved in terms of what we're doing to really refine the way we're working with our energy. And all of the details play a role. They each have a value. They do specific things within what we're doing in the practice. And so it's well worth learning those details and well worth refining your practice to incorporate them and understand them. But at the same time, one of the things I often tell people is that if you generally do a practice, like if you have the general idea of it and you do that, most of the time you're going to get the general benefit of that practice. Then if you do a practice more specifically, including more of the specific details, well, then you will get a more specific benefit. So even if you don't understand or know all the details or can't remember them or anything like that, you still get a lot of overall benefit from doing the practice. That doesn't mean that there's not value in refining your practice, learning it, understanding better, so you can include more precise details. There is. You'll get more benefit from that. But that's not a reason to not do the practice. You're going to get so much benefit from doing the practice at whatever level you're able to, that you might as well just get on and do it. And in fact, doing the practice at whatever level you're able to creates a foundation for then further refining your practice, practicing to improve, to gradually incorporate more of those finer details and get more of the specific benefits as well. So anyway, super simple, just something I thought I'd share with you. Remember, it's a practice, not a perfect. Don't wait until things are perfect to do your practice. You're going to get so much benefit from doing the practice in the meantime. It's never going to be completely perfect except for in being perfectly imperfect. So get on with it. Enjoy all of the imperfections as we go through life and as we work with our practices. So again, I will put a link where you can find Scott and his work. Great guy. You might enjoy maybe some of the things that he does. I hope you've enjoyed this vlog. If you have, please like, comment, subscribe, share, all those good things. And I hope to see you on another one soon.